I'm excited to be here today with Andrew Hewitt, one of our speakers at the Evolution Conference in 2015, being held in Harrisburg, PA, on October 1st and 2nd. Andrew, welcome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here.
It's a pleasure, Tim.
And listen, before I ask you about what you're going to talk about when you come to speak at the conference, can you tell me a little bit about this company you've started and where it's at today? I know exciting things are happening.
Sure. GameChangers 500 was built to be an alternative to lists like the Fortune 500 or Inc. 500, lists that rank companies based on revenue alone. And what seemed to be missing in the world was a ranking of companies that weren't just good at making profit, but also good at making a better world. And so we created a way of evaluating and ranking companies and showcasing the businesses that are really purpose-driven and are using their business and how they operate it and through their products and services to create a really meaningful impact.
Okay, and I know a little bit about this. I know there are half a dozen or a dozen different badges, criterion by which you are able to assess these companies. What are some of the big name companies that are already associated with this process? You've got some amazing people who've stepped up.
Yeah, it's a global effort. We have what I think are the best companies in the world that are part of it. It was part of our process of really combing the world and finding the world's top, what we call for benefit businesses. And some of the larger corporations that people know are the companies like Google or Patagonia, or people often think of one-for-one companies like Tom's Shoes. And there's all sorts of organizations that are having an even deeper impact that you probably have never even heard of before, that are either 100% employee-owned or creating the world's first Waste Zero City, or completely ending cycles of poverty in Southeast Asia through a really innovative insurance program. And so one of the most fascinating things about this work, Tim, has been finding companies that we haven't heard of that are really changing the world, that are the game changers, and being able to tell their story and also share their best practices.
That sounds amazing, because I normally think of companies like, I don't know, Zappos or Whole Foods, those sorts of companies that I know that you're involved in, but I wouldn't know who's doing insurance in Southeast Asia. That's kind of amazing. So I know you're coming to Evolution to speak, and ideally what I'm hoping is that you're going to share with people how they could do such things, but I won't preempt this thing. What are you planning to focus on at the Evolution Summit?
All right. Well, first I'll share a little bit about the GameChangers 500 story and our way of evaluating companies to see if they're truly maximizing benefit, not just maximizing profit, so people get a sense of how that system works. But really what we're going to do is we're going to make some clear distinctions what separates a for-profit, a non-profit, and this new class of for-benefit companies. You might have heard of B Corps or benefit corporations, which are two different things, or conscious capitalism. There's all these buzzwords, right? Social enterprise. What is it? What is the line in the sand that distinguishes the companies that are truly for benefit, not just for profit or nonprofit? And so I've been working with a council of around 150 the leading experts in this from the U.S. government, people creating legislation, to schools like Harvard that have full-time research teams on helping define these types of businesses. And I've had the privilege of being able to be on the forefront of what those distinguishing characteristics are. So if you want your business to truly be part of this new wave of let's say, whatever you want to call it, leading term is for benefit. If you want your business to be a part of that leading wave, what you'll learn in this presentation is those distinctions and what you can be doing to really structure your company as a for benefit. Part of that can be a legal process, but more important to that is actually what you're actually doing. It's not what you say you do, but it's actually what you do that makes the difference, what inspires people, and what is real. And that's what I'll be really diving into.
Okay, cool. And we have you 15 minutes on stage doing like a TED-style talk, and then 60 minutes where you'll be able to really kind of break this thing apart and give people things they can implement, right? Does that sound like the plan?
That's the plan. So in the shorter presentation, we're going to do a quick tour of some companies, give you a sense of the organizations around the world and, that are for benefit and what those specific best practices they're doing to employees, to reduce their environmental impact, to be purpose first, so to actually run the company a way where they're prioritizing what they're saying their purpose is, not just prioritizing quarterly earnings.
Right.
And don't think that these aren't profitable companies. In fact, most studies show that these purpose-driven organizations are far outperforming their for-profit peers. Some studies show that that gap is as large as 14-1. They're outperforming. So you also get a sense of some of the business case for it as we explore these companies around the world, really give you a sense of looking inside them and getting a sense of what they're actually doing.
Cool. All right. So what I'm hearing here is we've got some stuff around purpose. We've got some best practice stuff with clear distinctions, stuff that you can implement. I'm also hearing for benefit and that it's more profitable to do so. The last thing I want to ask you about is millennials. There's this class of people who I think looking at you, I'm guessing you might be right in there. I don't really...
Right on the edge.
Right on the edge. How is this stuff going to be relevant in terms of motivating millennials who work, within your business? What's the connection with millennials, if any?
It's a great question. The number one reason I get invited to consult Fortune 500 companies is because millennials are becoming 75% of the global workforce in the next 10 years. And guess what millennials want? They want purpose. They want more autonomy. They're wired a little bit differently, right? And the purpose-driven companies, these for-benefit businesses, are attracting that millennial talent, and they're giving them an ecosystem where those millennials really thrive. And so the larger corporations in their talent management departments are recognizing they need to do something. Otherwise, they're going to have a real talent crisis. Some are already facing that. And so, for example, 58% of millennials will take a 15% pay cut to work for an organization that shares their values.
Wow.
70% of Americans consider a company's social environmental impact when deciding where to work. And people who are engaged in social environmental practices in their company rate to be outperforming the average by 2-1. So giving employees a sense of purpose, getting them engaged in purposeful activities makes them more empowered, makes them more engaged, and it helps you attract millennials. So it's a big part of this story, and part of the presentation is helping you understand how to do it.
Look, I think we could keep going on about this. Both of us are quite keen on this stuff, I think quite passionate for hours, but we've probably now already done 15 minutes, more than the 15 minutes you'd get if you came. Really looking forward to seeing you, really looking forward to hanging out, catching up on everything that we got to catch up on. Thank you so much for your time today.
It's a pleasure, Tim. Looking forward to it.